Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are reviewing Monkey Man, Dev Patel's directorial debut, in which he also stars as the lead character. This is a revenge film about a young man fighting for money, trying to gain access to a criminal underworld that were responsible for the death of his mother and the brutalization of his village. There has been a lot of hype about Monkey Man building up to its release. It's been endorsed by Jordan Peele, who serves as a producer on the film. He campaigned for it to get a big screen cinematic release. The actual production was just inundated with bad luck, with COVID, broken bones, the death of crew members, that sort of thing. And facing all those issues as a first-time director and star to still deliver a film of this quality really warrants some credit. I am going to start by saying that for me personally, I think Monkey Man has been overhyped. I did leave feeling it was a bit of an overrated experience. Don't get me wrong, I think this is a really strong debut from a filmmaker who's clearly got a lot of talent, and hopefully this is the start of things to come. As an action revenge story, Monkey Man is very simple in terms of narrative, very minimalistic in terms of characters, and very simple in its approach. The uniqueness that it brings to the table is the setting, is the cultural immersion, and the environmental dive we take into like the Indian underworld and the slums. It really brings a fresh grittiness to this sort of film, coupled with the visual style, which utilizes a lot of shaky cam. There's a real choppiness and sort of an amateurishness to shaky cam that lends itself to this kind of film, which won't be everyone's cup of tea. This unpolished, gritty, sweaty tone really just contributes to an experience that feels suffocating, but completely engrossing at the same time. I think Dev Patel really cultivates an atmosphere in this film. This has been pitched as an action film, and when the action sequences do come, they do deliver. It's mostly a final set piece sequence, and it's really well shot, it's really well lit and really well edited. When you hear about how they had to recycle stuntmen, rebuild props in between takes, it is actually stunning what they managed to come up with for this final set piece. Outside of that, there's a thrilling bathroom brawl and quite a choppy but really slick chase through the slums of India. But I would say this film is quite light on the action front, and maybe could have done with a couple more pulpy sequences or sequences that had been extended just to really solidify Monkey Man as a great action film. The action is great in it, but I do think it's quite sparse. We don't get as much of it as I thought we were going to. One of the big drawbacks I felt when watching Monkey Man was its use of flashbacks and the way it handled them and dispersed them throughout the narrative. As a narrative technique, I'd say this film is overly reliant on flashbacks to hammer home traumatic moments, and it really spoon feeds these moments of reflection to us, which Dev Patel is selling himself through his acting. I'm not completely against flashbacks, but I do think when they're overused, they are really detrimental to a film. Especially, and I think this is the case with Monkey Man, the flashbacks were all pretty much identical. We're flashing back to this singular defining moment in this character's past. It recycles the same sort of shot, it hammers home the same trauma, and after a few times you've got the point and you don't need it anymore. Obviously it's there to show how significant that moment is to this character's life and how defining it was for who he has become. But as a visual experience, I think we could have done with less of that, especially as well because I think the pacing of this film is slightly too dragged out. I think had the film clipped maybe 20 minutes of its runtime, we could have had a really taut, fast-paced, thrilling immersion into this non-stop film. But as it stands, the film opts for a much slower and more reflective tone and pace, which doesn't always work in its favour. Monkey Man also provides a lot of different cultural and spiritual aspects that kind of underpin a lot of this film and really fuel this character's beliefs and his faith. And I wouldn't say it lends this film a really distinct identity as much as it just lends it a very different feeling. And that's just amplified by the way it's shot, the way it's edited, the production design, the costume design, the music choices. And I would say that the best part of Monkey Man is that feeling of immersion that it manages to achieve. Not necessarily the action, which is fantastic but underused, or the cultural aspects which are present but not overly dominant and prevalent. They are all part of this atmosphere that just drives the film. So for me, Monkey Man was a very solid film, worth watching on the big screen, definitely. It wasn't a film that blew me away as much as it did pique my interest in Dev Patel as a filmmaker. But I would absolutely urge people to go and support a film like this, which has clearly faced a lot of adversity in its production, and really does deserve some attention when you see what they've managed to accomplish given the limitations they faced. So if you have seen Monkey Man, guys, do drop a comment below. I would love to know your thoughts. Please also consider liking and subscribing to the channel. That's always a huge help for me. And in the meantime, we'll see you for the next vid.